Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. I am Adam Weinrib, joined as I am every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time by Fansided MLB insider Robert Murray, breaking down the 6 late-season wrinkles that could decide a title this October. We got a lot of playoff previewing to do over the next couple weeks before the action gets underway, and we are excited to go through it today. Some late call-ups, injuries, situations where players are claiming that they are totally fine, even though they seem injured, and some drama in the wild card races, plus some strange moments and everything from Robert Murray's notebook. Plus, we've got some announcements up top, announcement corner, a segment that we're not going to do every time, but we'll do it today for sure. Before we get into all that, we thank everybody for joining us. Robert Murray, how are you doing, dude?
Dude, I'm doing great. Big day for us. Really big day. I mean, this is as exciting as it gets for the Baseball Insiders. I want to give a shout out to Adam for making I'll let him dive into it because he was the guy who made it happen. So I appreciate Adam for that. But good to be here. Got lots to talk about. Playoff baseball is getting pretty close, which is always an exciting time. I have some off-season thoughts as well. Shall be a good show. It's going to be a longer one than usual, which will also be very exciting. So Adam Weinrib, I'm going to throw it over to you. How you doing? Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Go Birds.
Happy Wednesday. I hear that last statement. I acknowledge it. I will not say it out loud. But yeah, big one and a little bit of a supersized show. We're going to stretch this one out today. We thank everybody for joining us or listening. Again, 3 o'clock Eastern every Wednesday afternoon. The schedule may change as the postseason ends. We get into the offseason, maybe even in October. But for now, here's where we're at. Here's where you can find us. Hit the join button below if you are not in the Discord, and then come find us there. Robert's got a private Q&A Thursdays at 3 o'clock Eastern as well. So please do subscribe on all podcast platforms, on YouTube, and then join us there over in the Discord. Read us at fansided.com/baseball-insiders. You can also subscribe to the Moonshot, get that sent directly to your inbox for the freshest Robert Murray news and notes, strange work from me, prospect columns from Eric Cole, and the rest from our talented team of Fansided MLB staff writers. And if you read the Baseball Insiders feed on fansided.com today or the fansided.com homepage, you probably saw some Silver Slugger content. And that is because thanks to the hard work of many people and the Louisville Slugger Corporation. And I want to shout out to Thomas Carinante and Kurt Mensching as well over in the MLB department here at Fansided, as well as an incredibly talented team you're going to be hearing from plenty over the next 2 months. If you haven't already heard from them, Fansided and Louisville Slugger are officially partnered on the Silver Slugger Awards. The Baseball Insiders YouTube channel is going to be the exclusive home of the awards and finalists announcements. So you'll read all about it on fansided.com/baseball-insiders and on all of our team-specific network sites. But Robert and I are going to be controlling the winner announcements on November 6th and 7th. We're going to hopefully have some interviews to incorporate into that show. We're going to put some bells and whistles on it, but you can join us right here in the same place that you are currently right now to learn who is winning the Silver Slugger in both the American and National Leagues this year. And that is, again, exclusive to Fansided and to the Baseball Insiders. Robert, this is a hell of a partnership. We had this one under wraps for a little bit, and we are excited to work with Louisville Slugger and bring this to life and add and inject some fandom into the proceedings with all this local coverage we're going to be doing as well.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a big deal. We got big plans for it. We're going to be freaking crushing it. I already know that as a fact. And there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on it, but we are ready for it. It's going to be like a trade deadline show, possibly on steroids, which will be awesome, which we always love doing that. But no, good work, everyone all around by making that happen. That's going to be a big deal for the show. So everyone who has been part of the show for a long time, we appreciate the support because I can confidently say it would not have happened without you guys. That is very, very, very appreciated.
Yeah, you are the reason we do the show. You're the reason the show is where it is. And we are so happy to be able to bring this to you. Again, November 6th and 7th. And keep your eyes out for the finalist announcements as well as we get closer to the end. And again, I mentioned interviews. You know, we don't know who we're going to be speaking to. Former winners, maybe current players. I know some asks are out. But one that I can announce that we've already recorded. One of my favorite things people do on podcasts sometimes is like they don't announce stuff until it's like done so that you can't announce it and accidentally be like, shit, like guy canceled. So I can announce that not only is this happening, but it's good because it already happened. Mookie Betts we got this week. He'll be on the Fansided YouTube channel going live tomorrow, I believe. And there will be some good Silver Slugger related content in there, but also just like questions to Mookie Betts. I also spoke to Jane Levy, the author of Make Me Commissioner. I don't know if you've read her Mickey Mantle biography, Sandy Koufax biography, Babe Ruth. Great writer. And her new book sort of does a deeper dive on how baseball lost some of its soul in emphasizing individual statistics and players as assets instead of players as players and stories to be told over the last couple years. It's a brilliant book. She's awesome. So that'll go live, I believe, tomorrow as well. But, stay tuned for that. If you are a Baseball Insider subscriber, whenever it goes live, you'll get that. Jane was a total pleasure to talk to. And I think right before she talked to me, she said she talked to Sandy Koufax. So first of all, holy shit. Second of all, I was like, why couldn't you patch him in? And I got mad. And no, I didn't. That's not something that happened at all. We just had a great time. And it was unbelievable to be in someone who keeps that kind of company. So, Jane was amazing. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for Mookie Betts. And the Baseball Insiders is your official home for the Silver Slugger winners. And there are a lot of hotly contested races. We'll break some of it down as we get a little bit closer and we learn a little bit more about the finalists. Although I did tell our graphics team, if you want to start mocking up a Cal Raleigh winner card, I think you could probably go ahead and get that. That could be your sample maybe, and then we'll use that when we do the live show. Not to break the news here, but I think
I feel pretty confident that's gonna happen. Yeah. That seems like a pretty good scoop by you. I would be pretty. That would be an even bigger scoop if he somehow was not a Silver Slugger or like winner. That'd be freaking crazy.
Yeah.
But no, he'll be there.
He may or may not be your MVP, and we'll learn more about that. There are going to be different camps on that one for sure. Where are you at right now? Also, September 17th, temperature check. Like, the Aaron Judge seems to be dwarfing him in many of the offensive statistics that traditionally determine MVP, but not home runs, not RBI, and not impact. Like, we've got another incredible Aaron Judge season. It's been ridiculous, but we have an all-time catcher season from Cal Raleigh. And the Mariners are now leading the AL West. So I don't know where you're leaning.
Yeah, that's tough. I honestly, I think I might be leaning Cal, if I'm being totally honest. Like, I'm not voting for the AL MVP, so I'm not tipping my hand there. I don't even know if I can announce what I'm voting for, if I'm being honest. So I should probably keep that quiet. But yeah, I think I would go with Cal, especially considering, he's got 56 homers on the season now. He hit 2 the other night. And it's a historic season from a catcher. We're talking one of the best catching seasons ever. Like, it's straight up fact. It's not opinion. It's fact. Judge has been great. Like, he's no doubt like just a phenomenal player, a Hall of Famer. Had another great season in the Bronx here. But I think maybe part of that logic or maybe part of that reasoning is because that Judge has won it previously and Cal has not, obviously. But I think Cal deserves it. I also think that there should absolutely be a conversation to be had in the National League as well for Kyle Schwarber. I don't expect him to win it by any means, especially with how good Ohtani's been this season now that he's pitching and pitched 5 no-hit innings the other night. He's a unicorn player. So the case for Cal is much stronger to win the MVP than it is for Schwarber. I could see a world where Cal ends up doing it, but my ultimate guess is that Judge pulls it out. What about you?
I'm in camp Cal Raleigh too. Like, again, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't make the same argument I made in 2022 for Judge, where I was basically like, Shohei Ohtani's WAR and all of the measurables and numbers are obscene, and he pitches and hits, and like that might as well just make him not an insult, but like if he's going to pitch and hit it at some level approaching this for the next 4 years, then he's just going to be the MVP every year. So it's hard to make an argument against him. But if you were going to, the argument would be that Aaron Judge is going to surpass 60-plus homers and is having a marquee season, the likes of which I don't know if we can replicate. So, if you just want to go purely on the measurables and just the ridiculousness of being able to do those two things at the same time, you literally cannot make an argument against Ohtani using those statistics. But the argument was just, this is historic on the other side. And if we're not going to reward this, this would be the one instance where I would say, if you're, you can reward Ohtani annually. So we got to reward the one thing that looks a little bit unique. Have to use the same argument here. We could reward Judge for putting up these type of offensive numbers every year. He has looked identical from 2022 to present. We've cycled from Ohtani's greatness in the AL to Judge's greatness. And now you can make the same argument for Cal Raleigh. Judge has, a vote for Judge is basically saying Judge wins the MVP in perpetuity every year that he does this, which appears to be every year at an extended peak. And then Cal Raleigh, we've never seen this before. And coming from a catcher, it's if you want to stand by Judge's numbers, I cannot begrudge you. But if you want to stand by Cal Raleigh's completely unique profile, I have to give you the nod on that as well, which makes this one of the most exciting MVP debates I can remember.
Yeah, and going another part of this Cal Raleigh deal that I feel like is being underappreciated now is the fact that the Mariners aggressively tried to extend him this offseason and ended up doing so. And they signed him for slightly over $100 million. And I believe he would have been a free agent at the end of this year had they not. And if he ended up not doing an extension, they waited, he'd be worth, a lot more than that number. And this is why teams are so aggressive in trying to sign guys early on rather than waiting to the last second. And sometimes it doesn't work. There's been deals in the past that have not worked, especially with Seattle. There was one of their former top prospects. I can't remember. He was eventually traded to the Atlanta Braves. I can't remember his name, but anyways, but this is why the Mariners did it. And I don't think they could have ever seen something quite like this end up happening with Cal Raleigh. 56 home runs, being one of the front runners for the American League MVP. Because they were so aggressive in trying to sign him and getting that deal done, they're going to be able to add other players to the roster. And who knows, maybe that includes keeping a guy like Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez. It's been a relatively tough start to his reunion back with Seattle. He struggled pretty bad. Maybe it means signing someone in the offseason. Who knows? But it gives them additional flexibility because they saved a lot of money there. And we often criticize the Mariners on the show for not spending, and it's been long deserved. But they spent here, and it was money that was extremely well spent. So good job, Seattle, and a rare W for that ownership group.
Yeah, Suarez in Seattle looking the way I was worried he would look if he came to the Yankees. So wild to see them rise despite making a trade that has not worked out to that level. They are leading the West for now as of record. And I think Raleigh, crazy thought. I think Cal Raleigh deserves a lot of credit for that rise. So he's my MVP. But again, if you are in the Judge MVP camp, I don't begrudge you. Aaron Judge is crazy. And he's on a heater the first couple of weeks of September as the Yankees enter and exit their gauntlet, then go to Minnesota and have two very weird games and split those. So you never know what's going to happen in Major League Baseball. Maybe this is the postseason where Aaron Judge looks like regular season Aaron Judge. Maybe this is the postseason that the Mariners fans have been dreaming of forever, where Cal Raleigh leads them to the promised land. But there are a lot of late wrinkles across many of these races as teams jockey for seeding and for playoff entry down in the wild card. And I want to go through 6 things that have changed over the last week, 10 days that may alter the way we view the postseason and which teams are entering hot, entering ready, entering like a Little Caesars pizza, and double storylines in Toronto. To start, I feel like if we're breaking down these 6 wrinkles that could decide the champion, Toronto's got one in the positive, one in the negative column. And so Trey Yesavage comes up and makes his first start in Tampa and is brilliant and gives up an early run, but that's it. The Jays rally to win that game late, as they seem to do 88% of the time when they face a deficit of some kind. They erase it and go ahead and win that game. There's been a lot of chatter this year about how there isn't a defined favorite in the American League. It looks like every team is good, not great. And all of a sudden, the Blue Jays kind of look like a great team, 89-62. That record screams greatness. I don't think they're going to just come under the 100-win threshold, but they're going to end up with a win total that makes you think this was a very great team. We're not talking about a 91-win club winning the AL East. And at the last second, Yesavage is here and could be, does he get carried as a playoff X factor? Does he get playoff starts after what he did to the Rays in Tampa? It is rare that you get a chance at a late season call-up like this that could be, we talked about the Mets, Connolly early and Peyton Tolley in the Red Sox. Yesavage in Toronto. We've got guys who were not part of the equation all year show up in September and could be getting the ball in the biggest games of the year.
Yeah, you don't call up a guy, especially someone who's so highly touted, to make a couple of appearances before the postseason and not use him in the postseason. Like, he's going to factor into the postseason. We'll see exactly how that ends up happening and what kind of role that looks like for the Blue Jays. But this debut for him could not have gone any better. And his delivery, he's got a very over the top delivery. And his splitter, I'm not trying to overreact to 5 innings by any means, but it looks like it could end up being one of the better pitches in ball before too long. Like, it was an extremely encouraging outing from him, and he even got robbed of an immaculate inning. And if that happened, that had to have been the first one in baseball history, I would imagine, for a guy debuting to have an immaculate inning. I can't imagine that's happened before, but anyways, he is going to have a really strong impact for them. And we've talked about it with the Mets, as you alluded to, and how they're going to have their young guys end up making an impact for them in the postseason, if they even make it, which, I mean, I think we're going to be getting into that here in a little bit. I don't want to tease that too much, but our takes on that one have aged worse than the glass of milk. Holy smokes.
It's been a week. Yeah, I didn't know takes were allowed to age that poorly in 9 days, but apparently.
No, it's honestly, it's the most I've ever felt like Skip Bayless, where I've had a take just go horribly wrong.
I take off my Cowboys jersey, I throw it in my metal trash can in my weird kitchen, and I walk away. Yeah, I did feel like Bayless.
I can picture you doing that too.
I did that after the 64-yard field goal in the opposite direction. So
hey, that helped me hit a parlay. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, but we're going to football talk and sports betting for a second. But going to the Blue Jays, there's a lot to like with that team, and they've got one big glaring question. We're about to be talking about it with Bo Bichette, but their pitching, especially with Yesavage there, they're just in a really good spot right now. And to me, especially if Bo Bichette stays healthy, are the favorites in the American League. They are just that good.
I think so as well, which brings us to the negative, which is Bo Bichette. The injury timeline, I think, does count as a late wrinkle. And you can include Roman Anthony's injury timeline here, too, in terms of deciding which teams jockey for what position in the American League. Roman Anthony is walking on a treadmill. I can't really figure that one out or parse it. So I'm just going to go ahead and say the timeline hasn't changed. I'm not sure. But what we do know is with Bo Bichette, he has gotten examined multiple times. The latest is that the second opinion claimed it is a short-term knee sprain that will improve with rest and rehab. He's going to miss the rest of the regular season, but at this point, the rest of the regular season is 10 days. We don't need him in the regular season. The Blue Jays are 5 games up on the Yankees with the tiebreaker. They have locked in the AL East. For all intents and purposes, they've locked in the top seed in the American League as well. People seem to think Bichette could be back by the ALDS, and the more time they have to rest and rehab him, they're going to win the division. They're going to get that bye. They're going to get him some more rest. So they're going to do all they can to clear him. He hit 357 and 367 in July and August. I think they could win the World Series without him, but his healthy return makes him in Toronto my AL favorites. I don't know how you feel about that.
I totally agree with you. And people after last year, especially, they wrote off Bo Bichette. And his last year, he was bad. There's no real way of sugarcoating it. He was bad. And at the deadline last year, there was a lot of people clamoring for the Blue Jays to trade Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr., and they held on to both. And I criticized the Jays. I was skeptical of it. I got after Ross Atkins. I got after Mark Shapiro. I've got after a bunch of people there with Toronto. But they proved me wrong. And they extended Vlad Jr., they extended Alejandro Kirk, and now they have this question here with Bo Bichette of what are you exactly going to get here with him in the postseason, but also what's his long-term future look like? And with him healthy, they are absolutely a World Series team. He is a difference maker. He is someone who you try to build your team around, and he's a really strong piece. I mean, you have him, you have Vlad Jr., and you have some of these other guys that are leading the team and have him as your face of your franchise. That's a really good spot to be in. And when he was healthy, he was awesome. And I hope he's healthy for them because he's such a difference maker. But I'm really curious to see when he does return, how effective he can be, because it's a knee. They're calling it a knee sprain, correct? Mm-hmm. You wonder, is it going to impact him defensively? Is it going to impact him at the plate? What exactly is it going to look like, and what version of Bo Bichette are you going to get? This year's version or last year's? We don't know that. But one thing we do know is that he's going to get paid in the offseason. The contract will exceed 9 figures. How much, how deep into the 9-figure range it gets remains to be seen. But we've seen Dansby Swanson get big deals, Willie Adames. We've seen all sorts of different guys get these big deals, and I expect him to do so. Yeah, I don't know where it's going to end up being. I don't know if it's going to be in Toronto or elsewhere, but that's a question that it's not a question for now, but it's something on the minds of everyone in baseball, especially in Toronto.
Yeah, that market is deeply confusing at this early stage, but he couldn't have set himself up better prior to the injury. And it sounds as if he will be back for what could be an extended postseason run. As long as he regains that mobility, he has an opportunity to really take the mantle there and become a front and centerpiece of the MLB postseason. Too often, this Jays team has not been able to make the run that it feels like they're set up for. This year, they're in a good spot, and the bracket is going to lay out nicely for them, especially if another wrinkle in Detroit ends up affecting them negatively. I don't know what's up with Tarik Skubal yet. He was pulled on September 12th with left side tightness. He is not going to miss a start. Good. So far, so good. But we are just a couple of weeks before the postseason. Obviously, that's a team that does not want to skip a beat. And that is a player who wants to tell you that he is fine. So I hope he is. I don't know. I know that they wouldn't foolishly push it if he wasn't feeling at least up to competing. Suddenly, the Guardians are kind of a frisky playoff team, and I know Guardians fans are not giving the Tigers the AL Central either. They play 5 more times. It's a 5-game lead in the loss column for Detroit after yesterday's Cleveland win in extras. So the betting odds favor the Tigers ending that race soon, but the Guardians do not care about the odds, and so they're going to be annoying until they're eliminated. And so that division is in play technically, and one team very much believes that they are alive. So Skubal will pitch. He's not going to take himself off the rubber for the last 2 weeks. He's not going to get out of rhythm before October. But are you more worried about this than they're letting on? Or do you believe them that they pulled him, it was purely cautionary, he's fine now, this will not recur?
I'm worried about it, but I'm also not at the same time. Like the fact that they don't anticipate him missing a start is a good thing. But anytime you hear left side tightness or just side tightness in general, your automatic reaction is oblique. And if you hear oblique, that's a long-term injury. And if that would knock him out of the postseason, I mean, he's such an advantage. Like they found ways last year to get creative outs in the postseason or just throughout the regular season, but losing Skubal is a huge advantage because you put him on the mound and you automatically expect to win that game. Like he's just that good, that dominant. And if he ends up missing time, like to me, they might be screwed. So yeah, like obviously I have concern there, but I don't think they put him out there now. I know the Guardians are 9-1 in their last 10 and they're surging, but they wouldn't put him out there now if it meant that he would seriously injure himself again. I think they want to have the long-term view with him. And plus, I mean, well, you never know how much a player is willing to fight through. Because I know some players who have fought through much more serious injuries than have been publicly known and still pitched and it ended up hurting themselves more. So it's not uncommon, but I tend to believe Skubal and the Tigers when they say that he'll be okay. So fingers crossed, because he makes the postseason baseball, just the Tigers and just baseball in general, that much better. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hear you in the comments. I doubt it's a phantom injury because he's not missing a start. So if it was a phantom injury, they'd put him on the IL and make sure that he wasn't going to use any bullets of any kind. To pull him mid-game and then to have him come right back, I'm not sure what's to be gained from that. But we will see. And again, we'll see how effective he is this week against a Tigers team, or the Tigers facing a Guardians team that doesn't think they're dead yet. And so before we talk about the NL, I want to talk about the AL a little bit. You've got the Guardians at the bottom of the wild card standings, just slightly below the cut. The Mariners have sent the Astros into the wild card standings. And now you've got a Yordan Álvarez injury that could be the difference there. No breaks, even though the ankle did not do what an ankle should do. But that's still a long-ish term. That's maybe a more dangerous injury than the Bichette injury. It certainly would appear to be. So that could be the difference. But then again, on the flip side, and I think Uncle Ted was reading our outline, so could Zach Cole's emergence. He's been huge in just a couple of games since joining the Astros. And the Astros took the first 2 crucial games from Texas in Houston this week to sort of fend off the Rangers' bid to get back into the postseason race. As of now, you've got the Astros in the wild card and the Mariners in the division winner spot. And the Red Sox falling to the final wild card spot for now. They're a half game back of the Astros. Nothing definitive whatsoever. But if the Guardians believe they have a chance in the Central, then you better believe they think they have a chance in the wild card too. They're just 2 games in the loss column behind Boston, and believe the Astros and Red Sox are tied in the loss column, so 2 games behind both of them. Do you think the Mariners have what it takes? Two-parter. You think the Mariners have what it takes to hold on to the West and send the Astros to the wild card bracket? And 2, does anybody else get into the wild card bracket? Do the Guardians have one last trick up their sleeves?
Yeah, so I'm going to pull up the wild card standings because it's updates by, I mean, it's crazy how that goes. But start off with the Mariners here. They were so hot after the deadline, and then they fell crashing back down to earth. And like everyone was in panic mode, myself included, being like, "Oh my goodness, like what's happening? Like what's going on here?" Because everyone's on the hype train, and they collapsed. And now they're 10-0 in their last 10, and everyone's hopping right back on their bandwagon, and they look like a totally different team. And the best time for a team to get hot is right around the postseason. Like we saw with the Diamondbacks a couple of years ago. We've seen it, I mean, year in and year out. Like the Mets got hot last year and ended up, I mean, they all thanks to a Pete Alonso home run off of Devin Williams in Milwaukee, and it just ended up like going crazy there. So the Mariners, to me, are very well positioned to do so. The Astros, they got some cracks in the armor here, and specifically with the Yordan Álvarez injury. And we talked about the confidence that the Tigers showed with Tarik Skubal's, like his injury, and Yordan Álvarez, and the way that Joe Espada, the Astros manager, got so chippy with reporters when talking about that injury. Doesn't seem very ideal for them. And I don't know. That set the alarm bells off, and I don't know why Espada. Like I know Espada said he's not going to get into the timetable at all about like how long Álvarez is going to get out, but he admitted, I believe, he said it was going to be a while. And a reporter asked if it was going to mean the IL, and got really snappy with him. So we'll see. But it felt like the exact opposite of what the Tigers were doing with Skubal. So that raised some eyebrows for me. But long story short, I am absolutely a believer in the Seattle Mariners. I expect them to win the division. I expect them to make some noise in the postseason, which is a really welcome development because that's not something we could really have said here in recent years. But they look like a force to be reckoned with, and they can be even more dangerous if Eugenio Suarez bounces back, because he's been really bad since going over to Seattle. Like there's no way of sugarcoating it. So if they can continue this performance from other players on the roster and get Suarez to bounce back, they could end up being the biggest competition for the Blue Jays in the American League. And I don't know if you would have told me entering the season, I would have said that. I would have thought, you might have lost your marbles, but it's the current reality now. And it's going to shape up for some really exciting ball. And like this doesn't mean that I don't believe in the Astros either. Like they still are like the Houston Astros. They're not going to go away quietly, even with Álvarez's injury. But that hurts. Like he is as difference making of a player as they got. Obviously now having Carlos Correa, that's not a bad thing either with his postseason experience. But the Mariners, this might be their year. What do you think, Adam? I'm curious.
Yeah, not only are the Astros, they're even more the Astros than they were at the start of the year because they got Carlos Correa midseason. Look, you cannot discount them, but going to Houston, you have felt it this year that it has been a little bit less of a home field advantage than it had been for the previous half decade. The Yankees went there and were not intimidated, and we know from watching the Yankees in big games and showdowns with rivals that more often than not, they are the ones that fall back. This group's DNA, they have a long way to go in New York to show that they're a team and a core that can really compete when challenged in road environments by aggressive American League teams. They went to Fenway this weekend and showed that they had mettle. They went to Houston and it felt a little bit different there too. So guys like Zach Cole, like the undermanned version of the Astros, getting Christian Javier back late, Framber Valdez drama. And in that Yankees series, the main antagonist was Yordan Álvarez. Like he delivered almost a 65% share of the runs Houston scored after coming back, going 110-mile-an-hour line drives pretty much every time they attempted to pitch to him. Jose Altuve's struggles have also been glaring. So the Astros, for a half decade or more, have gone as Altuve and Yordan, after joining them, have gone, and Carlos Correa as well. Yes. But Altuve hitting 238 with a 701 OPS in the second half, 695 in August, and 549 in the half sample in September. So if Altuve can find his footing, he could change a short series all by himself. But you want to see, like you said, a team go into the playoffs hot. You don't have to see a W10 next to their name in the standings. It could be W7, W8, but you want to watch them get racked up, and seeing that W10 next to the Mariners at the most important time of year. I don't care what anybody says. There's an argument, yes, when a team loses a game or 2 or 4 in April, and people say, it's just early, it doesn't matter as much. And someone will inevitably say, well, they all matter at the end. You're going to want these wins at the end of the year. 100% true. Absolutely. But I would disagree that the wins and losses are created equal. Like I would rather, if you give me the option to say 10 straight wins in April or September, I'm going to say, give me September every time. I understand that they count the same in the standings.
Oh yeah.
But I really think they empower a team. And I think the Mariners and Blue Jays are the two, and Phillies are the teams right now that we're watching sort of living that reality.
Yeah, you win in September. That's going to give you confidence that you can win in October, and it gives you confidence you can beat these elite teams. And this is when this, like, for lack of a better phrase, it's what separates the men from the boys. And they are, like, to me, the Mariners, this is where they can really end up like setting themselves apart, and they've done so. Like, they're talking the talk and walking the walk. They're doing all sorts of different stuff. The Astros, like, they get Altuve to bounce back, they're going to be formidable for sure. But there's still so many different question marks with them, especially with Álvarez's injury. It scares me. But like, and even another part of this conversation that you mentioned before is the other teams that are lingering as well. You have the Guardians that are right there, the Rangers that are somehow right there, and the job that Bruce Bochy's done in keeping that ship together and keeping it up is remarkable. And the injuries that they've suffered and just the underwhelming performances, like Jock Peterson was awful to start the year. And I wondered if he was going to be a DFA candidate, but he's bounced back. He's been better. Losing Eovaldi, who is probably going to end up finishing the top 3 in AL Cy Young voting. That was a crushing blow. Just all around, like, it shows why Bochy is such a respected manager and why he's so good. And part of me wonders, like, if he, like, I mean, this is me, like, really spitballing here. But if he ended up going up to a team like, say, San Diego, and he ended up managing them, I mean, in previous years, not now. But if he ended up in San Diego, like, what would that have looked like for the Padres? Because his voice alongside that talented of a team, that could have really been just an electric pairing. But Bochy, he's proven it once again in Texas why he's one of the best. And I hope, like, for my sake, selfishly, that this isn't going to end up being his last year, because he is just a phenomenal manager. But they're not going to go out until it's all said and done, whether 3.5 games back, the Guardians are 2.5 games back. Really can kind of rule out the other teams, because I believe that, well, I'm looking at it now, the Royals are the next closest at 7 games back. So can kind of rule them out there. But it's going to shape up to be a fascinating next couple of weeks, because there's going to be some fireworks for sure.
Last time Bochy was in San Diego, things went pretty well. So I would have imagined a return engagement would have worked well for him as well.
Yeah, that would have been like this. It would have been my favorite manager in ball and my favorite executive in ball paired together. Like, that would have been incredible. I can't even begin to imagine. So yeah, sorry, Drew. I know you're probably watching this. But yeah, that would have been a fun pairing.
Yeah, things are still going pretty well in San Diego, though, to be fair. And they are firmly in the mix in the National League. 2 more wrinkles, of course. On that side of the bracket, the Giants are not alone. And, we talked about the Blue Jays bringing Yesavage up. Here comes Bryce Eldridge late in San Francisco. Now, this maybe felt like more of a factor a couple of days ago before the NL wildcard standings shook out the way that they did. It felt like Eldridge could maybe be a defining addition. And there was a time when the Giants even tied the Mets for that last wildcard spot in the loss column. Now the Mets dictate their own future a little bit more, and the Diamondbacks have snuck in front of the Giants. But before we get into predictions for that race, what do you expect from Eldridge in San Francisco? How often will he play? What role is he going to play?
I hope they don't do what the Cubs are doing with Owen Casey and not play him often. I hope they play him as much as they possibly can, because he's a top 16 prospect in ball. He's phenomenal. He's 6'7", just a power bat, first baseman for them, and they need a first baseman now with Dom Smith on the injury list with a hamstring injury. And but that was an impressive splits that he did at first base. That was a gigantic ouch. But he can add some life to that lineup. They can provide a power bat, can provide some youth and some late season juju, because they can kind of view this as a trade deadline addition, because I mean, he's just that impactful of a player. And in his first game, he looked good against Zach Gallen. Like, he was patient at the plate. He was being selective. He was holding off on some breaking balls. So overall, very encouraging start for him. And he hit a ball that would have been a home run in most parks, but alas, that was not the case in a not so hitter friendly ballpark. But he is going to be an impact player for them. And it also, going back to June, around Father's Day, when the Giants ended up trading for Rafael Devers, I remember the first couple of things that I got asked were, one, are you hacked when I broke the Devers trade to the Giants? And then two, is Eldridge in this? And then I tweeted the full trade package, and I'm not kidding you, within the first 30 to 45 seconds of me tweeting that, I had at least 5 different people reach out to me. A couple of them in all caps being, no Bryce Eldridge? And I'm like, yep, he's not in this deal. And it was a great job by the Giants not including him. The Red Sox wanted him, but obviously did not give him up. And now the Giants are going to bear the fruit of that, and by being able to keep him. So having him, Devers, Adames, all sorts of different players there. It's a nice little foundation that they have in place in San Francisco.
Yeah, not bad at all. And I think Red Sox fans to this day are struggling with, was he an option? Was he the breaking point? Was he the sticking point? Like, could we have had him for Devers? No way, right? But maybe. And it does seem kind of like off limits, but also I hate to note, and by hate to, I mean love to note that, who's looked pretty good is James Tibbs.
Yeah. And boy, ouch. Yeah. I'll tell you, that was another one that shocked me on deadline day, because I found out, like, obviously the Dustin May thing leaked, in that he was being traded to the Red Sox from the Dodgers, and nobody got the return. And all of a sudden, someone texted me saying it was James Tibbs, and I'm like, huh? Like, and the thing is, and I alluded to it on the show after the Giants traded for Devers, was that James Tibbs was actually a trade candidate to leave Boston after the initial trade. And there was no smoke on exactly where it could be. And then the Dodgers got it for rental in Dustin May. And that was a real strong addition by the Dodgers, that truly maximizing return for a rental guy who I don't believe they were ever going to end up keeping. And yeah, I mean, now the Giants' former first-round pick is now in LA, and that kind of feels like a nightmare scenario for the Giants, but they have Rafael Devers, so I guess that's an easier pill for them to swallow.
Yeah, different degrees of nightmare scenarios, and the Red Sox have replaced Dustin May with Connolly early, and he looks pretty great too. So working out for all involved, it would seem. Okay, what the hell is going on with the final NL wildcard spot? We gave the Mets all the love in the world a couple of weeks ago, and this is the final wrinkle of just like, we can't set the field yet. We don't even know the final wildcard spot in the NL could make it to the World Series. It's happened before, and the New York Mets feel a little bit more comfortable after yesterday's beatdown of the San Diego Padres. It was not lost on a lot of baseball Twitter that the Mets, who were already beginning to collapse, finished their season with a stretch that begins with PTSD, Philly, Texas, San Diego. And the Phillies, hilarious. One of my favorite tweets of all time. The Phillies swept them. Texas took the first 2. Pete Alonso's walk-off saved them in the final one. And they took the first one against San Diego. So now they've got a little buffer. They are no longer down to the nub, tied in the loss column. But the Giants are threatening. The Reds are lingering. But it looks like if anyone's going to take it from the Mets after the way that the Giants and D-backs have gone head-to-head, it's Arizona. So what the hell is going on? And how do you feel about the Diamondbacks' chances to make a late move?
God, I wish I knew what the hell was going on, because we on the last show, we were talking about how optimistic we were about the Mets, and just that we thought they were going to end up turning it around, and that the talent would end up trumping it all and just end up getting them to the postseason. And then it was just complete doomsday. And it felt like every tweet notification that I got was about how bad the Mets were doing. And I mean, it was deserved. Like, it felt like the team was free falling. And They had to continue to preach patience and like not panic publicly, but yeah, it was not a good scenario there for them whatsoever. And as far as what it means for the NL wildcard spot, I mean, you have the Cubs who are, entrenched there. You have the Padres who are in a pretty good spot there as well. And then you have the Mets, you have the Diamondbacks a game and a half back, the Reds 3 games back, the Giants 3 games back. I'm kind of ruling out the Cardinals. To me, they're an afterthought in this entire thing. My guess is that the Mets end up winning this thing out and end up sealing that final wild card spot. But I'm right there with you. I'm not ruling out the Diamondbacks. And that discussion happening now, especially after what happened at the deadline when they moved all sorts of different players. Like, this is why they didn't want to have like a big epic sell-off. And like they pretty much did. They just didn't get the offers that they were hoping for a guy like Zach Gallen, but they have a much different looking team. And yet Torey Lovello, that was a great shot by whoever left that in the comment section, that he's done a tremendous job. And it's why that it made zero sense whatsoever for that team. So like all the speculation about him possibly being fired, like from fans there, like that made no sense whatsoever. He is a great manager. You would have, if you fired Lovello, you would have wanted to hire like a guy like Torey Lovello. He is awesome, and no other manager in my eyes, at least that's out there, could have done the job that he's done. And yeah, I give him credit, but I think they're probably going to end up falling short.
Ace caliber from Gallen at the end of the season leading into free agency. Nobody met the Diamondbacks asking price there. They found a new home for Merrill Kelly, but not Gallen. And since that moment in time, 53 2/3 innings, 2.68 ERA, 1.01 whip, 200 batting average against. The K9 has not quite been there, but that's per Jesse Friedman. He has been everything they've needed and more. And per Bob Nightingale, the Diamondbacks have now juggled their rotation, so Zach Gallen will start game 1 of the wild card series. If they make it, they're using their off days to go with a 4-man rotation. You're getting 2 more regular season Gallen starts, Saturday against the Phillies, Wednesday in Los Angeles, California. Do they get it done? I'm with you that the Mets getting that slight distance between them and the edge of the wild card race means that they do survive. They had that energy they needed last night. They need to continue to bring that energy for the next week and a half, and they get the Washington Nationals this weekend. But as someone who just watched a video on the Mets 2007 collapse by Jolly Olive, just because it's the Nationals and the team, like it was the Nationals and Marlins in 07, it does not mean anything. You have to play with an edge every day, regardless of opponent. The Diamondbacks are going for the jugular with their 4-man rotation. They are setting themselves up, doing all they can do. I do think they fall short, but I am glad to see them pulling out all the stops to make this as interesting as possible.
Oh, you and me both. And it's going to end up being just a crazy next couple weeks. And we talked about it with the Mariners and how they went from high to low to now super high. Who says that can't happen here with the Mets? Like, they have the talent to do so, and they have a really good manager who I really like. I'm not rolling it out by any means in the imagination, but this next couple weeks are sure to be crazy. And then after the craziness, we got postseason ball, and I am absolutely thrilled for it. But Adam, I know as a fact I could not have done this without you. Also we can't do this without baseball either, because this is just sheer madness. But good show today, great show, I would even call it. And yeah, this is strap in. Let's get weird, baby. Let's do it.
I'd go ahead and give it a great. We will see everybody again next Wednesday afternoon, 3:00 Eastern, just another week closer to the start of the postseason. Join us in the Discord. If you're not already there, hit the join button below the show. Subscribe on YouTube and all your favorite podcast platforms. You're going to want to subscribe before the time we release the Silver Slugger finalists and winners live on the Baseball Insiders. Plenty of Silver Slugger speculation coming your way before then and across the Fansided Network and on fansided.com/baseball-insiders. You get the moonshot delivered straight to your inbox, and then go ahead and make that a part of your desktop viewing experience for more baseball content from Robert and I. For Robert Murray, I am Adam Weinrib. Take care and see you right back here next week on the Baseball Insiders.
Thank you, everybody.